Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters, whoever you are, wherever you are, today we are facing a very big and serious issue with radicalization, particularly of Muslim youth. This is something that we cannot deny any longer. We have been in denial of this for far too long, and I think it's high time we accept that this is happening. And we accept the fact that the biggest casualty of this, the ones to whom the greatest damage is being caused, both directly as well as indirectly, are we ourselves, the Muslim Ummah. And therefore, the primary motivation to solve this, I don't say responsibility because I think the responsibility is equally shared by everyone, but definitely the primary motivation to solve this is definitely ours. And I believe that we should take action to see what we can do, both at the level of government as well as the level of individuals, NGOs, communities, community leaderships, masajid, and so on. We need to look at and see what is it that we can do to get out of this very clearly life-threatening situation. And that's why I thought, let me share some thoughts with you. I want to start with this picture of this girl, which is taken from one of the Syrian camps. I think it's one of the saddest photographs that I have ever seen in my life. This little girl is, she has her hands both up in the air like that. She's holding back her tears. You can see how her mouth is up like this. She's holding back her tears, and she thinks the camera of the journalist is a gun, and she is surrendering to the journalist. I mean, imagine what are we doing to our children? I'm not. When I say what are we doing, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that this is something that is squarely in our lap. Now, what is the ISI? So let's quickly start with that, because that's what this lecture is about. I want to say to you very clearly, and I want you to remember this, and I would like you to use this in your own dialogue. The ISIS is a political problem. The ISIS is not a religious problem. So it's very important for us not to buy into the rhetoric either of ISIS itself, which projects and proclaims itself to be the Islamic State and the Islamic Khilafah. They are not. They are the exact opposite of that. And we must also not fall into the trap of the rhetoric of Western interests when they come to us with this allegation that the ISIS is something to do with Islam, and that it is really Islam which is behind the ISIS thinking and ideology, and it is the what they like to call the literal interpretation of the Quran. The ISIS and the ISIS actions are not the literal interpretation of the Quran, they are the literal misinterpretation of the Quran. There is no way that the Quran or the Hadith and the Sunnah of Rasulullah can be interpreted to mean or to support absolutely any of the statements or any of the actions of the ISIS. And let's be very, very clear about this. So those people, including some ignorant and misguided Muslims who like to portray this thing and say that what the ISIS is doing is really Islam in disguise. It is really Islam, which is an extremist religion, which is now coming to the fore, and therefore the truth about Islam is coming before us. And these are the people who are literally interpreting the ayat of the Quran. I'm sorry to say, anyone with any knowledge of the Quran and Hadith will completely disagree with you, and I suggest that you go and learn something before you talk. It is the literal misinterpretation of the Quran and the Sunnah, and that's the point at which I want to begin this. So trying to explain the ISIS through the Quran and Sunnah, which is the theological basis of Islam, is completely futile and it is misleading. The ISIS is a narrative that was started by those who created the ISIS, and to answer them in the language of their narrative is to play into their hands. That is the last thing in the world that we need to do. Now, I believe that we have defined the problem enough. Almost every lecture that I have listened to, we have people, Muslim scholars and Muslim leadership, which are effectively repeating the same thing, which is to say that the actions of the ISIS are haram, the ISIS has nothing to do with Islam, that the ISIS is the creation of the military-industrial complex, of the weapons manufacturers, and so on and so forth, and the ISIS was created by America, and so on and so forth. Fact remains that no matter the veracity and truthfulness of all of this, I personally believe all those things are correct. Having said that, still we need a solution. Repeating the problem over and over does not give a solution. So we have to find a solution. This lecture, inshallah, is about solutions. So what are the solutions? I want to enumerate them very quickly, and then we will go into the detail of that. On the one hand, we need global solutions. The global solutions are four. Number one, eliminate wars by eliminating the military-industrial complex. Number two, eliminate weapons and weapon-based economies. Number three, change the situation where 1% of the population of this world owns 80% of the assets. Now you might say, well, this is unrealistic, this is too far-fetched. Let me tell you, 1% owning 80% of world assets is far more unrealistic and far more far-fetched than saying that this thing must change. 1% got to own 80% not by accident, but because they planned that and they successfully implemented their plan. And sorry to say, we all got fooled into that. We are the people of this world, and we need to take this into our hands, and we need to change it. We don't have to go kill anybody, but we have to convince that 1% that they can still make the money, they can still be extremely wealthy, they can still live their wonderful lifestyles, yet we need not have a single starving person on the face of the earth. Now tell me, what can be bad about that vision? That is my vision. Not one single starving person on the face of the earth. So that is the global solution on the one hand. Yes, I agree with you. The global solution is not in the hands of all of us. It is in the hands of some people, and I hope some of those people at least will watch this video and agree with me and agree to work together. On the other hand, now we are coming to the local issues. As far as the local issues are concerned, we are faced with the following. Number one, vocational training. Vocational training so that we give each person, each young person a skill, which is a marketable skill. Number two, entrepreneurial development. How to turn that skill into a business which can earn money, so the person doesn't go and stand once more in the grub line waiting to be employed by somebody else. Number three, transparent law enforcement, which is done with sensitivity, which is done with police-public participation, where the police is not seen as an alien force, the police is seen as our partners and our helpers in resolving crime. Number four is ethical journalism. You will still sell papers, you will still get TRP ratings, you will still have news channels. Believe me, you do not have to do to the media what you are currently doing. Number five is the Imam Development Program, where we directly address the Imams of this community, the people who lead Salah, the people who are the Khatibs in our masajid, where they will be, we will empower them to become true leaders in every sense of the word, where they become leaders of the community, leading them to on a path that spells goodness for all concerned. Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhu reported from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, there will emerge from the east some people from my nation who recite the Quran, but it will not go beyond their throats. Every time a faction of them emerges, it will be cut off. The Prophet ﷺ repeated this, and on the 10th time he said, كُلَّمَا خَرَجَ مِنْهُمْ قَرْنٌ قُطِعَ حَتَّى يَخْرُجَ الدَّجَّالُ فِي بَقِيَّتِهِمْ. Which means, he said, every time a faction of them emerges, it will be cut off until the Dajjal himself emerges from their remnants. And this is a Sahih Hadith in Musnad Musnad Imam Ahmad. I submit to you that when you are faced with the ISIS, or when you are faced with any such extremist reasoning, and believe me, the Muslims are by no means unique in this, ask just one question, and that question is, who gains and who loses? This question will answer all the rest of the questions, and this question will open your eyes to whatever propaganda may be happening, and believe me, there is a lot of propaganda that's happening. So the question to ask is, who gains and who loses? Let me ask you this question. How logical is it to ask for peace when our economy and financial well-being is based on war? Wars happen for one reason only, and that is because wars make profit. Wars are profitable. They are not profitable for you and me, but they are profitable for the people who are running those wars. ISIS is a highly profitable enterprise. It's an excellent business, and it makes a lot of financial sense to those who benefit from it. And that is the reason why it continues, and that is the reason why it is allowed to continue despite the rhetoric that we hear that the whole world is against the ISIS. Just ask yourself this question: if the whole world is indeed against the ISIS, how is it that it is thriving? Loss of life is called collateral damage, not murder, not genocide, not crime, not desolation and degradation of human life, which is what it is. Someone always gains. Let me give you just one example of that. Leslie Stahl in the program 60 Minutes on the 5th of December 1996 interviewed Secretary of State at that time, Madeleine Albright. And he asked Madeleine Albright this question about these American sanctions against Iraq. He said, "We have heard that 500,000 children under the age of 10 have died because of these sanctions." Why did they die? Because hypodermic needles were classified as weapons of war, because medicines were denied to hospitals, because baby food was denied to children, because nappies were denied to children. So children died, not one or two, 500,000 children, 500,000 children died thanks to the sanctions against Iraq long before the first Iraq war. So Leslie Stahl asked this question on 60 Minutes and said, "We have heard that 500,000 children have died. That's more children than died in Hiroshima. Is the price worth it?" What am I talking to you about? I'm saying that someone always gains. And that's exactly what Leslie Stahl is asking. He said, is the price of the lives of 500,000 children, is the price worth it? Secretary of State Madeleine Albright on the show 60 Minutes on the 5th of December 1996, she says, "I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it." Now tell me something, what kind of a statement is that? What does it tell a Muslim? What does it tell any human being with a heart? What does it tell any person with a child? Go look at your own child who is under the age of 10 and look that little child in the eye and say, "I don't care if this child dies, this price is worth it." Say that to yourself. That is the question that the Muslims of the world are asking the people who make these choices, and saying that, are you serious about this thing? Are you serious to say that you can actually say something like this? You can base your foreign policy on something like this, and you expect that the world is going to simply sit there and accept it and say, "No problem, here is my child, kill one more so that you can make a few more dollars." Is this going to happen? Seriously ask yourself. I didn't imagine this. Go look up this particular interview, and I'm giving you the at the bottom of this slide is the link for that. Go look it up, do your own research. And that is only the number of children who died before the Iraq war. There was a first Iraq war, there was a second Iraq war, and that litany of death continues to this day in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in all over the countries of the world. What is the common factor between all those countries? Every single one of them is a Muslim country. So, therefore, what must we do? Before we go to that, let me quickly talk to you about the radicalization cycle itself, because each stage of the cycle feeds the cycle. I'm using this cycle because I want to talk to you in terms of systems theory. We need to look at this problem holistically, not one-sided. Systems theory says that we talk about loops. We talk about the causal loop and we talk about the compensating loop. The ISIS works through a vicious cycle, which is their causal loop. The ISIS causal loop has been started and is well on the way. We need to start our own compensating loop to take care of what the ISIS is doing. And I'm going to be telling you in a minute what the causal loop is and what the vicious cycle is. Please keep that in mind, because we need to do the exact opposite of that. Now, what is the vicious cycle? It starts with discrimination. Discrimination is the result of poverty. It's the result of people, creating fear and so on. So it starts with discrimination. It is aided and abetted and helped by demonization. And the demonization happens in the media, it happens in propaganda, demonization of Muslims and demonization of Islam itself. These two together, discrimination plus demonization, leads to alienation. People feel they are rejected, they feel demeaned, they feel they have been thrown out of society, not accepted by people. That a feeling of alienation results in radicalization, which can result in violence. It doesn't always result in violence, but that is where violence comes from radicalization. I submit to you and suggest to you that this is not a Muslim problem. This problem belongs to all of us, because when the violence comes, the violence is not selective. As we have seen, the violence is not selective. Muslims are dying, and people who are not Muslims are also dying, and therefore we all have a vested interest, a very huge interest in working against this. Now, reasons for this vicious cycle, why does it happen? Number one reason is fear. Fear and a victim mindset. Number two is learned helplessness. Experience has taught these people that they have no influence, that they cannot change their lives. Number three, this results in a feeling of hopelessness and despair. Number four, then this leads to a mindset change which says the problem is because of the other. The enemy is always the other. People do not look at themselves anymore. They are not willing to reflect. They get into a process of denial, and they export the blame to whatever they define as the other. And five is they then reach a mindset of nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose, which is a form of desperation, which is why I say to you that despair is at the root of all violence. Anyone who considers life to be precious, anyone who considers life to be a gift, cannot take another life, no matter what happens. But people who have reached a point where they feel their own life is worthless, they are the people who are ready to take the life of somebody else. Radicalization, believe me, does not happen in masajid. I'm saying this because this is the illogical and extremely unfortunate focus of governments and of law enforcement agencies. They are focusing on all the wrong places, and because of that, they are actually helping this radicalization. They are promoting radicalization. Radicalization does not happen in the mosque. It does not happen in Islamic centers. It does not happen in the masajid. It does not happen in the homes. Parents are often the last ones to come to know that their children have become radicalized. Radicalization does not happen in Muslim schools. The more you attack masajid, the more you attack madaris, the madrasas, the more you attack schools, the more you attack Muslims' homes, Muslim culture, and Islam as a religion, the more you attack Muslims and Islam, the more you help radicalization. You make the spiel of the radical recruiter come true. All that the radical recruiter has to say is, see, I told you so. This is what I told you. They are the enemy. See what they are doing. They are attacking your home. They are attacking your masjid. They are attacking your school. They are maligning Islam. They are demonizing. They are mocking your prophet. They are mocking your symbols. You are the ones who are giving basis for the spiel of the radical recruiter. My submission to you with joined hands, with folded hands is, please do not do that. Do not do that. We need to break the cycle. We do not need to strengthen it. Radicalization, where does it actually happen? If it's not happening in these places, it is happening two primary places: internets and prisons. It is supported and helped by deprivation, discrimination, demonization of Islam and the whole community of Muslims. But it's happening on the internet, and it's happening in prisons. Israel just passed a law making it legal to imprison children under the age of 14. What do you think is going to happen to those children? Because even Israel is not going to take those children and kill them. They're going to imprison them. What do you think those children are going to learn in those prisons? Love for humanity? Give me a break. I mean, what has happened to the minds and brains of people? I think their brains have got fried. How do you allow a law like this to happen? Why is the world silent about this? What are the laws for juvenile crime in any country in the world except Israel? You want to imprison children of 10 and 12 years and 14 years? Please go ahead, absolutely no problem. You are a university for the ISIS of the world. You are training them. You are preparing them to become extremists. That is where it's happening, not in the masjids, not in the schools. It's happening in prisons, and it's happening on the internet. This is supported, this radicalization process is supported by the knee-jerk reactions of governments, of law enforcement agencies, of security agencies, and the biased reporting of the press and media. It is helped and supported by the media trial of suspects. A person has only to be suspected. The word suspect has to be used, and the media is ready to sentence that person to death. The media is ready through chat programs, through all kinds of interviews and all kinds of programs to completely destroy that person's life, to destroy and malign that person's family, long before that person even comes before a court of law. Radicalization is aided and abetted. It is helped by torture, which the police does, by calling it third degree. It is helped by kidnapping and disappearing of people, and it is helped by extrajudicial killings, which in our Indian press, may Allah bless you, you call them encounter specialists. Who is an encounter specialist? Is a serial killer in a uniform. I asked those media people who invented this term encounter specialist, and I asked those people who use this term encounter specialist, how would you like to be encountered by that encounter specialist? Murder cannot be justified no matter who does it. And until we come on to that basis of justice, believe me, we are helping the ISIS. There are two endgames that are being played in the world. One is the very clear and present injustice being perpetrated through physical invasion, occupation, devastation of Muslim countries for the greater interest of the power and arms lobbies. Number two is the strategy of setting up bogeymen and organizations and individuals projected as Islamic forces, but who do everything spectacularly and horrifyingly against Islam. In both games, unfortunately, Islam and Muslims are the losers. So what is the solution? 6 things. Number one, give them hope. Give them something to lose. Nothing to lose is the most dangerous situation to be in. So give them something to lose. Give them hope. Remove discrimination. Skill development. Understanding of other faiths. A sense of belonging and fairness and justice. And that is where I come to my suggestions of what I believe should be done. I kept 3 criteria for myself when I was making suggestions. The suggestion should be easy, it should be cost effective, and it should be powerful. And inshallah, this is what my suggestions are. 5 things that need to be done. Number 1, vocational training. Number 2, entrepreneurial development. Number 3, an imam development program. Number 4, transparency in law enforcement. And number 5, responsible journalism. Sincerity is the foundation of success. Acting cannot be sustained. So let's start with that. Number 1, vocational training. Start a vocational training center in every school. We have enough, the timetable gives us enough freedom to do that during the school day. If that is not the case, do it in the evening, but start a vocational training center. If you do it in every school, there is no need for infrastructure to be set up. It can be done in the school building. The building already exists, so there's no cost involved. But every child must learn a skill. What they produce, the products, can be sold and the income can be used by the center. And this also provides opportunity for employment for artisans and professionals who become the teachers. They can be paid from the output and the product of that vocational training center. It's a closed cycle which supports itself. So give every child in every school a marketable skill to earn a living on their own. Make them entrepreneurs. Number 2, entrepreneurial development, entrepreneurial training. Teach them how to write a business plan and how to pitch for investment. Teach them budgeting and profit and loss accounting. Teach them how hiring and team building, and teach them selling and service orientation. Teach them how to turn the skill into a business. All of this is teachable. All of this is teachable without cost, because there are any number of people, including myself, who are willing to do this free of cost for children. Number 3, set up a venture capital fund to enable young people to set up businesses. In this venture capital fund, where is the fund going to come from? The capital going to come from? ask public and private enterprises, public and private businesses, and multinational corporations to give funds for this from their CSR. They will be very happy to do that. I know a lot of people are looking for viable and for credible places to invest their corporate social responsibility funds, CSR funds. They will be happy to give them, ask them to provide the funds. And through this venture capital fund, give interest-free loans based on business plans to young people to start their businesses. Let them pay it back in easy installment, give them that option, and put CEOs on the management board of this venture capital fund. The government must not have any involvement in this after setting up. We don't want to take up government time. We don't want to take up government energy in that. It is not necessary. Let it be a private enterprise. The people who are running companies know how to run that. Let them provide the funds through CSR. Let them run the venture capital fund so that it's self-sufficient and money is provided. So I've given you 3 things to do, none of which will cost money. Vocational training, entrepreneurship development, and a venture capital fund. All 3 are self-funded. Number 4, Imam Development Program. This is a little bit more complex. Involve ulama with contemporary knowledge in this program. The Imams are the eyes and ears of the Muslim community. The Imam has the platform on a Friday. This is probably the largest platform that's available to anybody in any religious establishment, where every Friday the Imam is able to address people from across society, teach them what to say, teach them how to say that, give them that knowledge, teach them leadership skills, teach them how to speak, teach them counseling skills and so on, and use, don't do that through the police, don't do that very obtrusively, do that inobtrusively, using the minorities commissions if those are available in your countries, or use an NGO, but do that. Key requirement is to win the confidence of the ulama. Please understand, you are not going to get anything by attacking the ulama. The ulama are the leaders of the community. They are the eyes and ears of the community. You want to reach the community, you have to work through them, you have to give them prominence. So, what is this Imam Development Program? What I have conceptualized is a 3 to 6 month course covering the following. Number 1, understanding current events. No propaganda, just honest appraisal. Understanding current events, what's going on, how to make sense of that. Number 2, how to make the masjid a window into Muslim life and culture, for other people to come, to interact, to meet, to develop understanding. Number 3, cross-cultural sensitivity, dialogue with people of other faiths, and community service. Number 4, refute the message of the extremists from the Islamic ideological angle. Remember, the narrative of the ISISs of the world is from the Islamic ideological perspective. They are taking Islamic ideology and twisting it and misrepresenting it. We need Muslim ulama and scholars to answer that from an ideological perspective. It is not simply enough to say this is bad. You have to show how it is bad in Islam. You have to show how it is haram in Islam. Number 5, answering questions about current challenges in an Islamic context. How does Islam help me in my daily life? Number 6, counseling skills. And number 7, public speaking skills. All of this we can discuss in detail. I'm just giving you this as a list of what this 3 to 6 month course will cover. Giving the Imam prominence and respect. As I told you, we have to work through the Imams, we have to work through the scholars, through the ulama. Very, very important. Do not support insults to the religion. Any religion. I am taking Islam because Islam is the only religion which is insulted. But any religion, do not support insults to religion. It is essential that government and media do not officially support those people who mock any religion or any religious symbols. Today there is a very foolish attempt to bring people, Muslims with Muslim names, who come up and who criticize Islam, who talk bad about the Prophet, who all of these cartoons, farce that was run all over the world in the name of freedom of expression. Please understand, it is not freedom of expression to insult somebody. We don't even allow that in our personal case. Why do you think that people who belong to a religion, whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's any religion, why do you think those people will allow or like someone to malign or to curse or to mock those things which they consider to be holy? I'm not saying you have to accept that. You live your own life. Let them live their own life. Leave them alone. People are entitled to their opinions. I've got no problem if somebody wants to criticize Islam. They are most welcome to do that. But government and media must be neutral. Equality means equal protection. Transparency in law enforcement. So we have been through 4 of the 5 things that I mentioned: vocational training, entrepreneurial development, along with which comes the issue of venture capital fund, and then we looked at the issue of Imam Development Program. Now we're saying transparency in law enforcement. Many times, and this is, I know, especially in India, the police is seen and defines itself as the coercive arm of government. I submit to you that in a democracy, there is no coercive arm. The police has to be the partner of the public. Solving crime is everybody's issue. It is my interest. I'm a civilian, I do not want crime to happen. I want to live in a safe environment, and I am more than willing to partner and to participate with the police officer who wants to solve the crime. We are not on 2 sides of the table, we are on the same side. The police have to understand this and move out of this mental mindset of being the coercive arm of government. So sensitivity training for police officers and men. In 1991, I taught a course at the National Police Academy in Hyderabad called a sensitivity training course, one of the finest courses that I've ever taught. Wonderful course which was mandated by the Home Ministry at that time in the Rajiv Gandhi government. Later on, politics changed, the course was discontinued. I believe this course must be reinstated, and it must be taught across the country in all the police training establishments. I am willing to teach that course free of cost. I'm not trying to promote this to make money. It is necessary for us to have sensitivity training for police officers, which must contain a basic course on what is Islam, to remove prejudice. And we must create sanctioned systems to have police-public partnership for crime prevention, and we need to take people into confidence in law enforcement. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you want to arrest somebody, if you want to arrest a Muslim boy or a Muslim girl or a Hindu or whoever, if you want to arrest somebody, take into confidence the family of that person, take into confidence their community elders, bring them all together, show them the evidence and say, look, this is the reason why we have to arrest this person. Assure them that that person will be treated well, keep them in judicial custody, treat them well, by all means interrogate them, by all means look for evidence. We are not supporting crime, we are not supporting terror. We believe that crime must be punished, we believe that terror must be stopped, but we believe that anyone who is a criminal must be punished, not a particular person, not a particular person from a particular religion or community. That is injustice. The crime must be punished, not differential punishment for different people. Take people into confidence. Picking up people just like that, 5 minutes after something happens, smacks and stinks of discrimination. Picking up somebody and holding them incognito, if it is done by a civilian, is called kidnapping. Why do you give it a different name if the police does it? Torturing people is not permitted in the CRPC or in the IPC, the criminal system of India. It is not permitted in the criminal system and criminal justice system of any country. Why do you do it? Killing people without extrajudicial killings, I don't care what the media likes to call it, extrajudicial killing is murder. Whether you wear a uniform or you do not wear a uniform does not change the fact that you are a murderer. And if you do more than once, then you are a serial killer. Live with that. Tell your wife and children what you are doing. Let us see how many of them are willing to stomach that. Seriously, we have to change ourselves. By all means, I am one of those. I am not even against capital punishment. I believe that if somebody decides to go and kill someone, then that person has put himself in a place where, after due process in law, if the capital punishment if he is sentenced to capital punishment, then that person should be hanged. I know many people in this world will not agree with me. With due respect, I disagree with you. But I am saying that I am definitely not for police murdering people in the name of the law. It is not the law. It is not the law of my country. It's not the law of any country. We have to stop doing that. Responsible journalism, very, very important. The media is the shield of the citizen. The media are our friends. The media is the conscience of the nation. Journalists are and must be champions of civil society. The media is not a PR company. The media is not an ad agency bought over by this or that media owner who owns the company and dictates to people what they must say. As a journalist, believe me, if you are following the dictates of your owners, then you are doing yourself a disservice. You are insulting your profession. You are a noble profession. Do not do that to yourself. Media is not a PR company. Media is not an ad agency. Media trial is injustice. It is blatant injustice. You can't hide behind labels like alleged and this and that. It is blatant injustice. If you character assassinate somebody who is only suspected, then you are doing irreparable harm to somebody which they will never recover from. No matter if the court frees them and pronounces them free from guilt, they will still be held accountable and they will still be held blameworthy by the whole public, and the media is responsible for that. Please do not do that. As I said in my speech yesterday in the before the Minorities Commission at their program, there's a wonderful song in one of our old movies called Amar Prem, sung by Kishore Kumar, which has this beautiful line which says that Manjhdhar mein naiya dole to Majhi par lagaye, Majhi jo nao duboye use kaun bachaye. The boatman, if the boatman decides to sink his own boat, who is going to save that boat? The media are the boatmen of the community. Please do not sink your own boat. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, justice is the enemy of ISIS. Let us stand for justice. Justice gives the lie to the recruiter's tail. The extremist action is really the scream of pain of someone who has lost hope. He feels that he has no choice. All legal doors seem to be closed to him. Therefore, what does he do? He hits out as his last chance to get attention in a world which doesn't care, in a world which has forgotten him, in a world in the eyes of which he does not exist. So he seeks negative attention, which he sees as being better than being ignored. Being ignored denies him his existence. Negative attention helps him to assert himself, even if it is only once. And that is a very dangerous situation to be in. Let us not be those people who push young people into that situation where they reach a level of desperation, where they believe they have nothing to lose, and so they go and they kill innocent people. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, our Prophet Muhammad, 15 centuries ago, he showed the world that it is possible to defeat enemies not by killing enemies, but by killing enmity. He was the first to forgive his enemies when they were in his power. Nelson Mandela and Gandhiji followed his example. Tragically, the ISIS does the opposite while taking his name. That is why I say the ISIS and all extremist preachers are liars, and they are against Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We Muslims, we need to show the goodness of Islam. Mahatma Gandhi is the father of our nation of Indians. We Indians are the people of Mahatma Gandhi. We are the people whose forebearers proved to the world that non-violence actually works, and that non-violence can actually defeat a powerful enemy. What has happened to us today? Gandhiji has gone out of fashion. Our rhetoric today is characterized by hatred and extremism. Why? We have become reactionary. We are closer to our enemies than we are closer to those people who we hold dear and to the person who we call the father of our nation. Seriously, we need to learn from our own history. Every Indian is by definition a Gandhian, because we are people who call Gandhiji the father of our nation. Let us learn something from the theory, from his philosophy of ahimsa, which we claim to be our philosophy. Is it really our philosophy? Does the philosophy of ahimsa allow us to speak the way we speak? Extremist speech, hate speech, all kinds of extremist rhetoric. Is this what Gandhiji's philosophy teaches? It is not Gandhiji's philosophy. It is most definitely not the philosophy and the culture and the ideology of Islam. To quickly come to a conclusion, I submit to you that we live in a global village. The success of our democracy is not only dependent on the integrity of its leaders, but even more on the activism of the public. It is the public which needs to remind leaders that they hold their positions at the pleasure of the electorate. It is when the electorate forgets its own power and becomes subservient to leaders that democracies metamorphose into dictatorships in all but name. We have to own the problem to solve it, because it is only given into the hands of the owners to solve the problem. There are 4 critical to success, CTS conditions for success. Number 1, the ability of all leaders of all Muslim groups to unite on the need to solve this. I'm not saying unite in terms of ideology. We can have our different ideologies, but we need to unite on the need to solve this problem of ISIS, extremism and radicalization. Number two, the ability of police all over the world to change their approach to law enforcement. You cannot do that through the barrel of a gun. Please understand very clearly. Number three, the ability of all community leaders to work together, Muslim and non-Muslim. And number four, be prepared for the long term. It's not an instantaneous solution. The problem did not happen instantly. The solution will not happen instantly. But with perseverance, inshallah, we will definitely succeed. Because this is about the survival of all our families. Please understand, we have to be prepared to work consistently and to work quietly, under the radar, without flash bulbs, without press conferences, without headlines. If you don't do that, if you seek publicity, believe me, you will destroy this even before it starts. Final slide. We Muslims are in a double bind today. I am quoting from a beautiful article, the link of that is given at the bottom of the slide. The person says very clearly, he says all of this, which means all that is happening in the world today, puts Muslims in a double bind. If they just go about their lives, they stand condemned by those who demand that Muslims must speak out. But if they do speak out, then they can expect to be told that short of declaring their sacred texts, Quran and Sunnah, as invalid, they are fooling themselves or deceiving the rest of us. Muslims are presented with this brutal logic in which the only way to truly dissociate from ISIS and escape suspicion is to renounce Islam altogether. I say to you, with the entire authority at my command, sitting here in a masjid with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as my witness, that will never happen. We will never denounce Islam. We will never leave Islam. Let me make this absolutely clear. If you want this problem to be solved, we have to work together. If you don't do that, you can demonize Islam till you are green in the face. We do not believe you. We will never, never, never leave Islam. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.